Hello, good evening everyone. This is Saqib Nazir. I'm in University of Manchester at the moment. We have with us Max. He's he's a stammerer like myself, like you people. I met him last year when I came to England. We had a session about stammering. So I have arrived last day. I requested him to that I want to join the session again. Max is the one who is doing PhD from University of Manchester, and he's doing so many sessions with stammerer, and he's trying his research in a way. He's trying to find out what runs in a stammerer when we stammer. We just have had some different tests. I had some headphones that I was given. I put on my head, my ears, and that was kind of a small test. Let's talk. Let's get back to Max. What do you see after completing your PhD? How do you think that it will be helpful for the stammerers, and what your expectations are?
Thank you, Saqib. So what we're doing here at the University of Manchester is to look in particular at the hearing of people who stammer and whether people who stammer might hear their own speech differently from people who don't stammer. So I've just done some tests on Saqib's hearing and it's perfectly normal. He hears absolutely fine. But what we don't know is how Saqib hears his own speech, because no one knows exactly how that works. What we do know is that when we're speaking, the sound energy is produced here at the larynx and it spreads down to the chest and up into the head and radiates out into the air. When you hear someone else speaking, or in fact when you're hearing me speaking over the speakers at your university at the moment, the sound you're hearing, the original energy was produced here at the larynx. It's travelled through the air towards the microphone on the phone, where it's been converted into electrical energy and stored, and is now being played back through the speakers. When you hear sound through your ear, the same kind of a system takes place, in that the sound energy comes into your ear, is converted by hair cells in the ear from kinetic to electrical energy, and the electrical energy then travels up a series of nerves and axons into your brain, which is where you get the sensation of sound. So when you're hearing someone else speaking, the sound is travelling through the air into your ear. When you hear yourself speaking, you hear sound in the same way, in that the sound energy travels through the air and into your ear, but something else happens, which is that the sound can also travel through the centre of the neck and up into the ear that way. And in fact, that's unique to hearing your own speech. It's something that only happens when you hear yourself speaking. It doesn't happen when you hear someone else speaking. It also doesn't happen when you hear a recording of yourself speaking, because the recording only captures the bit that goes into the microphone. So what we're going to look at today with Saqib in a little while is what he is hearing when he hears sounds that are like the ones that come through the centre of the neck.
Okay, that's very, very well explained. Max, how did you come up with this idea that hearing can relate with our stammer? Because normally it is said, because I have taken the course, they just their main focus is on breathing, using some techniques, use of deliberate disfluency. So how do you think your findings or the research which is ongoing in your PhD, it is gonna help in this way, that your findings will be related to overcome the stammering issues in focusing with hearing research which is on the way?
One of the main reasons for thinking that what people who stammer is hearing could affect their speech is that when you change what people who stammer are hearing, the severity of the stammering comes down. They will stammer less if they hear themselves speaking in a different way. There was an example that Sakib gave a bit earlier, in that sometimes he's put in a pair of earbuds and listened to music, and that helps to improve the fluency of the speaking in some situations. Now, you can explain that kind of thing as being a distraction, so maybe the person who stammers is distracted and not paying attention to their speech. But when we try to distract people who stammer with flashing lights and things like that, it's not having much of an effect on the fluency at all. So it seems to be something to do with hearing. If that is the case, and if we can understand what the difference in the hearing is, we might be able to make a device that would change what people who stammer hear and thereby reduce the severity of stammering. Now, such a device probably isn't going to work for adults who stammer because they've been stammering for too long and they're pretty much stuck with it, but it might work for children who stammer, particularly young children. So that might be where stammering research ends up in the future.
As I may have told you when we met last year that I purchased a small SPEAKEASY device. They claim it is basically invention of America, US. I went to Dubai and I spent about $4,000 or $5,000 on a small tiny device that exactly looks like a hearing device. What it does is you just insert in your ear canal and you get to hear your own voice with a nano or millisecond fraction. You listen to your own voice. There are two modes. One is Tweety Pie mode and other is your own natural voice. So they claim that it works 100% to all the stammerers, but to be honest, having spent $5,000 on that tiny device, when I came back to Pakistan, I started using it. It wasn't really helpful as they were claiming it to be. So the thing is, whatever your research is, one more thing, we are having actually short of time. We have to start a session as well. So it is good of Max. He has given me this opportunity to record this video just to show you people that how people in the world who are facing stammering, they are really interested to come up with something new techniques or research or some like helping tools which will be beneficial to all the stammerers across the world just to be able to speak in a fluent or in a controlled way. Last thing from myself, Max, you may have heard that many people who work on the stage. One of my coaches in Maguire program, he was an actor, stage actor, and I was listening to an interview of Emily Blunt, the Hollywood actress. She's a Swedish stammerer as well. She used to be, basically. In one of her interviews, she was saying that when she was in her teenage, she knew it already or may have listened from someone that when someone, a stammerer, speaks in someone's, if someone pretends or tries to talk in some other person's accent, like mimicry or parody, so you don't stammer. And I have tried this. I have tested this many times. I try to speak in some Bollywood actor style. My name is Sakib Nazir. This is the pitch which one of the leading actor in Bollywood, Amitabh Bachchan, he speaks in the same way, same pitch. So when I pretend myself talking in his pitch, I do not stammer. So this could relate to your PhD, that how does this affect on stammer speech when you do not speak in your own voice? You pretend yourself to be someone. What do you think about this?
The standard explanation for that, it is quite commonly found, and the explanation by Joseph Sheehan is still the accepted one, which is that the stammering is tied into a role. So when you're yourself, you might be a person who stammers, that if you pretend that you're someone else, which is essentially what you're doing when you're acting, you aren't a person who stammers in that role, and therefore the stammering goes away. Now, this whole thing of roles is kind of a complex psychological effect, which is really happening upstream of the hearing. The part that I'm looking at in the PhD is how do you identify your own speech in the first place, because that's what I think is happening differently, that people who stammer are hearing their own speech differently from people who don't stammer. So there are two things which are a part of that. One is the speech they hear, which is what I'm looking at, and the second is the person themselves. If the person's a different one, because you're acting and you're playing a different role, then the stammering needn't be there in such an explanation.
So it would be better if we learn to speak in someone else's style rather than being your own self. One should be able to pretend every time speaking in Amitabh Bachchan's voice. Hello, my name is Saqib. So we will have no more stammer. Anyway, thank you very much, Max. Nice talking to you. Catch you soon. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, I set up next.